Sometimes the hardest relationships to leave are the ones that don't look obviously harmful from the outside. There may not be a single incident that you can point to or a piece of evidence that's going to make everybody around you immediately understand what you're feeling. Instead, there's withdrawal, punishment, confusion, and a growing sense that you can't trust your own interpretation of what's happening anymore. My guest today, Ama K. Karikari, spent years experiencing chronic silent treatment in her marriage before recognizing it as a form of emotional harm. Today, she helps other mothers find language for experiences they may have struggled to explain even to themselves. Alma is an author, speaker, attorney, and transformational guide whose work helps mothers understand emotional harm, recover from toxic relationships, and rebuild trust in themselves. She is the author of Silenced to Soaring, an empowerment workbook for mothers who are separated, divorced, or recovering from emotional abuse, including chronic silent treatment. Now, her background spans law, finance, educational, organizational consulting, and cultural awareness, and she holds degrees from Harvard, the University of Pennsylvania Law School, and Wharton. Plus, she has appeared on programs including The Today Show, Al Jazeera's The Stream, and Fox Business. Alma, welcome to How to Lose the Weight.
Woo! So happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Holly.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. I really loved your story and was so excited when you agreed to be a guest. I just want to dive right in and ask, when you use the term silent treatment, what exactly are you describing?
I'm very grateful for you asking that because this is an issue which has caused great confusion for many, including myself. So, in my book, Silence to Soaring, Heal from Chronic Silent Treatments, Toxic Relationships, and Abuse, I define the silent treatment this way. One, it is the sudden withdrawal of communication and emotional connection paired with hostile, angry energy, usually for a period of 24 hours or more and without repair. Now, I think this is very crucial because when you are reading the literature, very often it can be confusing, and the silent treatment can be confused with two other issues. One being a cooling off period. Some people say, "Oh, it wasn't the silent treatment; the person was just cooling off." I would like to say there are huge distinctions. One, a cooling off period typically is done with warning. Oh my goodness, Holly, I really can't talk about this right now. I'm afraid I'm going to say something that is not valid or not right. I need 24 hours to cool off, then we'll regroup. That's a cooling off period. There was an actual statement of intent. Hey, the person needs time to process it. It was with warning. A certain time period was given. And there is repair afterwards, and there's communication about what happened afterwards. That is not what I'm talking about. The silent treatment does not have that intentionality. It does not have those boundaries, and it does not have that repair. There's another thing which is often confused for the silent treatment, which is also painful but is not abusive. And I refer to that in my book as involuntary stonewalling. So that's when a person is flooded. The person has a maladaptive response. Let's say you say the words, "Why on earth would you do that?" And the person has a history, maybe a father or mother said it, and "Why on earth would you do that?" in the past was paired with physical violence. And so when you say, "Why on earth would you do that?" the person gets this involuntary, maladaptive response where the person freezes, runs away, hops in their car and has to go somewhere, or what have you. That is also very bad. I'm not saying that that does not cause challenges in relationships, but it was involuntary. And usually, when the person becomes more regulated, the person will come back and have a conversation. So it does not meet my definition of the silent treatment. The person who involuntary stonewalls is able to have a conversation of repair afterward. Now, that person may need counseling, EMDR, prayer, Reiki, whatever is in that person's holistic remedy for resolving the maladaptive response, but it's not abuse because it's not intentional. We know the silent treatment is intentional because the person comes back and refuses to deal with it. It is a manipulation tactic.
Great answer. So, is this a form of narcissism?
So I would say this. People who typically engage in the silent treatment have narcissistic traits. I am not saying that every single person who uses the silent treatment would meet the clinical definition of having narcissistic personality disorder. I am not a clinician. We have not evaluated anyone, so I cannot say that. However, I would say that the person has narcissistic tendencies, because for someone to feel so entitled, so as to refuse communication, refuse to give any sort of warning, engage in this for a long period of time, and then to feel so entitled that they don't even have a conversation of repair, and very often defend, denies, attacks, and reverses the victim and offender by saying, "Oh my goodness, how could you be so unforgiving? Why are you still talking about that?" Or I'll give an example. Someone that I met recently said that she had someone who did this to her, did not speak to her for 3 weeks, then out of nowhere asked her out on a date. And then during the date says, when she's like, "Hey, why didn't we speak for 3 weeks?" He goes, "Why would you ruin our nice dinner? We're having a nice dinner now. Why would you ruin it by bringing that up?" That shows narcissistic tendencies or narcissistic traits. I'm not going to say everyone who does it has narcissistic personality disorder, because we don't have enough information, but it does reveal narcissistic tendencies or traits.
Got it. So it definitely sounds like it's a form of control.
Yes. It's a
Okay.
form of control. Absolutely.
So what does chronic silent treatment begin to do to somebody's confidence and ability to trust their own judgment? I mean, if I'm
Oh,
on the receiving end of this, what's happening inside my head?
thank you. That's a great question. Psychologists, neurologists have determined that the silent treatment triggers the same pain centers as physical violence.
Wow.
Why would this be? Why would it trigger the same centers as actual physical violence? These are some reasons. We as human beings are herd animals. We are herd creatures. From the very beginning, when we are born, we are defenseless. Think of an infant. An infant is defenseless. An infant depends on his, her, or their caregivers to provide warmth, comfort, food, sustenance, protection. The list goes on and on. So you can actually see this in a lab, where when an infant is smiling at his, her, or their mom and trying to get some interaction, and the mom or the dad has a stern, cold look, it causes the infant to panic. The infant tries to get the attention. When it's not working, they'll start crying. They'll start getting flustered, because that lack of emotional connection and that lack of responsiveness could mean death for the infant. The same thing happens on the adult level. There have been studies of ancient hunter-gatherer communities where they did not have prison systems. But what they would do when someone offended is that they would all stop talking to that person. And guess what that target would do eventually? Unalive themselves. Because
Oof.
without the care, the protection, and the emotional connection of the community, the person might as well be dead. And so it has huge repercussions in terms of actually causing physical like pain, activating those pain centers, and then having the person lose confidence and self trust. Very often they start walking on eggshells. They're trying their best to avoid it. That's why it's control. Because now that the person is so afraid of it, they're changing their behavior in order to accommodate the perpetrator. And in that process, they're losing themselves.
Got it. So it sounds like this is an instinct, right? I mean, like a natural instinct.
Mm,
So if this is true, why is this form of harm so easy for other people, including our friends or family or counselors, to understand when it's happening, when we're trying to explain it? Why is it so hard for them to understand what we're experiencing?
I know. I really appreciate that, because all that I've laid out makes it very clear that this is a form of abuse and it's very dangerous. So I can understand you saying, makes total sense to me. Why is it that it seems off the radar? I think
Yeah.
part of it is the fact that, unfortunately, the textbooks are not including this information. So even clinicians are missing this. So the domestic violence wheel of control, which is being used all over the country and the world, lists physical violence, financial abuse, gaslighting, verbal abuse. It lists all of these different forms of abuse. It does not list the silent treatment. So I think that that's one reason.
Wow.
Basically, there's a horizon of knowledge. Every single minute of the day, people are putting out thought leadership. That is why I wrote my book, Silence is Soaring, in order to contribute to this body of knowledge. And so textbooks have to be updated. It has not yet happened. I even went to a retreat that Dr. Ramani hosted at the Omega Institute. And she said that up to this current day, narcissism is not being taught in many clinical programs for psychology, etc. So point blank, there's always a horizon of knowledge. You can imagine 60, 70 years ago, there were people on TV smoking cigarettes and saying cigarettes did not lead to cancer. Now the horizon of knowledge has changed. We all know cigarette use causes cancer. But this was not a bygone conclusion 100 years ago or whenever. You know, you'll check the date for me, right? It was not a bygone conclusion. So I would say, number one, the horizon of knowledge has not caught up. And I'm working diligently with so many other people in order to have it catch up. But I would say, second, we live in a 3D world where people are very often interested in evidence. And this is a form of abuse, unlike the other forms of abuse, which cannot be, at this point, to my knowledge, quantified. So what do I mean by that? When someone beats up another person, there's evidence, right? We see there may be a video evidence. There may be bruises. So this is something that everyone can feel, touch, and understand. And even think about it. Even with the evidence, people still often victim blame. Think about Rihanna, and Rihanna got beat up by Chris Brown, and we all saw those images, yet people were still making up excuses for him. Think about Cassie with Puff Daddy. Literally, we all see this video of her tiptoeing out of a hotel room, trying to get away. He comes back, drags her, beats her up. Yet you still have people saying, well, why didn't she leave him? Excuse me, didn't you literally just see her trying to leave? We have video evidence of it, yet still. So I think that's also a part of it. There's no video evidence. There's no audio evidence the way with verbal abuse. You can tape the person calling you names. And so without that 3D evidence, people very often want to, in some cases, blame the victim. But I would say also misinterpret the victim, or tell the victim that the victim is misinterpreting things by saying, oh, well, maybe he was just cooling off. Well, maybe he's depressed. Maybe this, maybe that. And they try to rationalize the behavior when really it's not rationalizable. It is an issue of control, manipulation, and domination.
So in lieu of bruising and nasty text messages or some dramatic instance that was going to prove that this has happened, how does a woman learn to take her own distress seriously?
Oh, Holly, very challenging. And I am going to say that from experience, because for 15 years, I was in this loop in which it kept on happening. And I was trying everything. I write in my book, I didn't try hard. I tried everything. I read marriage book after marriage book. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, love, respect, getting the love you want, the love languages, like the whole list. New York Times best-selling books on marriages. I was reading them, okay? We went to counseling together. I did individual counseling. I did EMDR. I did Reiki. I joined a wife coaching program. I mean, I did everything. And I think my assumption was that, one, there was hope to get the marriage to a place of human decency. And two, a part of that reason for hope is I thought it was unintentional. I'll be 100% honest in that it was like a spiritual download for me to recognize, oh my goodness, this is not unintentional. It is intentional. It is campaign. It is a concerted effort to destroy my spirit. And that was a download. And I say this with all respect to others who are going through it. I played a part in this happening. I did not trust myself. partly because we are raised and conditioned to not trust ourselves. We live in a
Mhm.
very 3D orientated world where it's like, no, people try to question other people. They want proof, they want evidence, et cetera, et cetera. I learned from this experience that we all have to lean into our God given intuition. That is what's real. It was the 15th anniversary. The first silent treatment had been on the honeymoon. And I was getting the silent treatment the 15th anniversary, and it was almost like I woke up from a trance where I said, oh my goodness, for 15 years I've been walking in a circle. I've been begging, I've been pleading, I've been reading books, I've been doing I've been doing all of this to get to human decency. The reason why it's not changing is because the person doesn't want it to change. All of a sudden, it became crystal clear. Whereas
Wow.
before then, I had assumed good intentions. I assumed there was misunderstanding. I'd assumed there was hope. But it was really, it
Mhm.
crystallized that day of the 15th anniversary. This is on purpose because there's no way that you could beg and plead with someone to stop doing this, where you could
Mhm.
engage in all of these different activities to try and get them to stop. And they didn't stop. They didn't stop because they didn't want to stop. It became very obvious to me.
Right. Had you considered leaving before that particular moment?
Absolutely. I tried twice, and each time a medical emergency was manufactured.
Oh, wow. By your
By him.
ex-husband.
Exactly.
Wow.
So ambulance showed up both times.
Amazing. So, did you think you needed more proof before you were entitled to make the decision to leave?
Well, this is it. With the ambulances showing up, I, one, it changes the dynamic. And my domestic violence
Absolutely.
counselor knew that was a manipulation tactic. I didn't know that. I
Oh
thought
my
that
gosh.
these were genuine medical emergencies because this
Mhm.
person was so upset by the prospect of me leaving. I did not recognize it as a manipulation tactic. So it worked. The person acts like they're so upset
Mhm.
that they're on the brink of this medical emergency. The ambulances show up. Obviously, the attention moves from why I was upset to how to get this person back on track, out of the hospital, what have you, etc. And I just felt like I had no choice. I didn't want to be responsible for a genuinely I didn't want to feel responsible for a genuine medical emergency that would lead to life termination. And so
Got
I
it.
felt responsible. But
Mm.
when I had this download, and then I had this experience in which I realized that if I stayed in this dynamic, I myself would genuinely pass away.
Oh,
I realized I must leave to stay alive. And if an medical emergency happens, I trust the highest power to just help me and my children figure it out. That
mhm.
was the turning point because I realized I was in such danger. So often, especially we as women, we want to believe that we're strong, that we can handle it, that we're capable, that we're resourceful. And we are resourceful, we are strong, we are capable. But some burdens are not ours to maintain.
Right.
And we cannot be responsible for another adult's life or health.
So once you knew this, you had this epiphany and you understood what was finally happening. What helped you move from knowing all of that to actually taking action? And my follow-up to that is going to be, did this clarity come all at once, or did you continue to question yourself after you left?
Okay, very good question. So the clarity came all at once because the the experience and the download was unmistakably strong. So
Mhm.
during that time of the 15th anniversary, my ex-husband was just a passing look. We were passing by each other in the hall, but this look that he gave me was filled with so much hostility that I ran to my bedroom, locked the door, and prayed and cried for hours.
Oh my gosh.
There was no coming back from that. I was begging God to deliver me from the situation. So I knew at that point it was over. I prayed and prayed like my life depended on it. I mean, tears, singing gospel music, asking
Mhm.
for deliverance. This was a negative supernatural experience. And
Wow.
afterwards, I knew I had to get out. I just needed higher power intervention for the steps. Now,
Mhm.
were they little moments, right? Well, first of all, When I told people, they were not supportive because, again, they're in the 3D. And so they're saying, oh, like my brother, don't you know married people don't speak sometimes? Come on now, married people don't speak sometimes. Why are you going to make my nephews from a broken home when this is normal? And I'm saying to him, it's not that I'm not speaking to him. He's not speaking to me. I'm like, this is not what you're talking about. And I'm not immature like that. I don't ignore people for fun. Like, this is just not how I get down, right? And so he's there talking about this other dynamic, which was his closest experience. So I give this example that people are always using their closest reference point. And so I'm talking about a lion, but if they don't know that a lion exists and I say it has 4 legs, it has whiskers, they're picturing a cat. I'm telling them I'm with a lion, but their brain is telling them cat because they don't know what a lion is. And I'm like, no, it's really scary. But they're
It's
not
a lion.
lion.
It's a lion.
But they're picturing cat, 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 cat. So they're like, oh, just buy Purina, just pet it more. Like, they're over here giving all these solutions that work for a cat that don't work for a lion, right? And so my brother pushed back. My mentor said I wasn't extending enough grace. And I said, absolutely not. I've extended too much grace, right? And she's like, no, don't do it. I'm like, but this was the process and this is the journey. I had to get myself to such a place of internal conviction that I could face all of that doubt and keep on telling people, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. My father says, oh, Alma, he's not so bad. Women in Ghana put up with this. We're not in Ghana. I'm in America. And it's not happening, right? Like, both of my parents are from Ghana. This was not an arranged marriage, because very often when people hear my story, they're like, was it arranged? Because they can't imagine that someone's nice during the courtship for me to agree to marry and then switches so suddenly and becomes very wicked. So they're like, oh, was it arranged? I'm like, it was not arranged. I was in America, living my life in Philadelphia, and was introduced to this person. It was not arranged. So I'm getting all of these, like, no, I decided to leave 2 years after my mom passed away. And my sister's like, Alma, but our family's experienced so much change. And then my ex was doing some renovation. So at one point, we go to the house. I wasn't living there, but we go to the house and she sees the beautiful bathroom. And he was a very fancy guy. So literally, the toilet opened upon rising and had heated toilet seats.
Wow. If that doesn't make you stay, nothing will.
This is what she's saying. And I'm like, we could make 100 bathrooms like this. I'm not staying. And that is part of the journey. And that is my prayer for all women who are undergoing this, that they learn to trust themselves. Because part of me being able to put this puzzle together was seeing the description of a scapegoat on Psychology Today or psychology.com. And the definition of a scapegoat hit home so much. I said, oh my goodness, this is what's going on. It said that the scapegoat is very independent, very resourceful, very empathetic, very forgiving. But then there was another line in there, and the line was, seeks external validation and has an external locus of control. This experience was so horrific. It shifted my external locus of control to say no. Internally, I feel in my spirit so strongly as I'm on the floor praying for my life that I must leave. And then I don't seek external validation. They say the bathroom's so nice. They say people put up with this in foreign countries. They say married people don't. And I'm just like, none of that matters. I'm gone. This is it. I'm saving my life, and my children need a mother, and therefore I'm moving.
Yeah. So you're a very well-educated woman. You've got 3 Ivy League degrees, a legal career, years of professional experience. At some point, did part of you think, I should be able to figure this all out?
That's the trick. Holly, that's the trick. So many women are saying this because we are so scapegoat material, independent, resourceful, educated. We thought we could I spent 15 years trying to figure it out. But this is the problem. I was in the marriage section of the library and not the domestic violence section. The day I read one of the foremost books on domestic violence called Why Does He Do That by Lundy Bancroft, I didn't even finish the book. I was listening to the first 2 chapters and nearly fainted because all of a sudden it made sense. All these other books, they're not fitting, but I'm in the marriage section. It's a New York Times bestseller. The council recommended it. So I'm over there just trying to apply it.
Mm-hmm.
Did not fit. Then I read, why does he do that? And all of a sudden, everything is explained in black and white.
Wow.
So you are capable, but there are rules. So Marie Forleo says this, which I think is very applicable. She says, everything in life is figure outable unless there's a contradictory law. And this is the law, people. It takes two happy people to have a happy marriage. It takes two healed people to have a healed marriage. It takes two faithful people to have a faithful marriage. It takes two commit. Like, you just keep on going on and on with all of the
absolutely
that are needed for a marriage. Two people were not there. It's just that I was deceived. There was a whole other life going on that I was not aware of. And this is the thing about God or the universe. I will say God. Many of you might say universe. It does not get revealed until you're strong enough to receive it, in my experience. And so it wasn't until after I left the marriage that all this other stuff that, had I known in plain English beforehand, I would have left 10 years ago with no hesitation. But the double life did not get revealed until after I had already signed the retaining document for legal counsel and I was out the house.
Wow. That resonates on so many different levels. I think so many of us think that we brought this on ourselves or that it's somehow our fault. And you've written about the difference between victim blaming and what you call victim accountability. What does that distinction mean to you?
Oh my goodness. It means the trauma is not our fault, but the healing is our responsibility. I'll repeat that. The trauma is not our fault, but the healing is our responsibility. Now in reading and writing the book and just my own personal journey over these years, I will quote Mark Wolin, it didn't start with you. There's intergenerational trauma that is responsible for some of this. It did not start with you. But as Colleen Hoover's book said, it ends with us, meaning we have to end it. We have to take responsibility. So in taking responsibility, how was I responsible for this? So number one, I didn't even realize the childhood trauma that had to be healed. I thought, hey, that happened back then, moving on. Not realizing that unless we heal it, we carry it wherever we go. And so I fell into the psychological phenomena of becoming my mother and marrying my father in multiple ways. I manifested a man who, I've lived in the United States all of my life. I had not even dated a man from Ghana except my husband, my ex-husband, ex. Right? Yet somehow I wind up with someone from the same country. Not only someone from the same country, Holly, because this is just how crazy it is, someone who went to the same boarding school.
Oh my gosh.
Same high school.
As your father?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. So the same country, the same boarding school. Additionally, both of them came here for higher education. My father came here to go to NYU and get a PhD. This man came here to go to get an engineering degree from Yale. I mean, the similarities were startling, both with similar wounds. I manifested someone similar to my father who triggered me in similar ways. So we have that aspect, the intergenerational trauma aspect. We also have the fact that I was being conditioned, right? So we think about just living in the world as women. Constant conditioning happening, right? You have the whole knight in shining armor, the Cinderella, through all of the folk tales. Additionally, I'm a Black woman, and I was growing up in a time where Black single mothers were demonized. I am a child of the 80s, the war on drugs. There's a welfare queen in Chicago. Oh, the Moynihan Report. Like, all of this stuff was informing. This was the atmosphere that of my early childhood experience. So it was this fear that, there are not enough good Black men. So a man is introduced, I get introduced by someone in B school with me, B school. He's from the same country. He's also of a Christian background, same quote unquote religion. I went to Harvard. He went to, this is looking like a match made in heaven.
Yes.
All the boxes are clicked, check. I thought he was deeply spiritual because at the time we didn't know Deepak Chopra had not been in the Epstein files. So the Epstein files had not been revealed. Both of us are reading Deepak Chopra. Both of us are
Oh,
talking about
yeah.
Wayne Dyer. We're there meditating together. I thought, this is it, people. This is it. This is like divinely orchestrated. And to a certain extent, it is, because I needed to awaken. And so,
Yeah.
so what are the layers here? We have the layers of intergenerational childhood trauma and that wound pleading to be healed. We have the issue of cultural conditioning as a woman. We have the intersectionality of being a Black woman at that time. Additionally, all of these things. Additionally, we have all of these moral, I would say, sayings, stay for the kids, etc. All of this helped to create it. And so even though I knew it was horrible, this marriage was bad from day one, from the honeymoon. All of that cultural conditioning kept me in, paired with, I would say, and this goes with the childhood trauma, my identity. My identity was good girl. Good girl, hardworking girl, nice girl, girl who does everything right. I mean, I remember, when there was an epidemic of out of wedlock children. That's a bad term. Let's say children born outside of marriage. I remember after I had the wedding, then got pregnant. Like one of my sister's friends, like, we got to get Alma going to schools to talk to the kids. She did everything in the right order.
Exactly.
Like you're doing. So I was trying to do everything right. That was my identity.
Yeah.
And so even though this was killing me, I was trying my best to make it work because I thought I was doing the right thing.
Yeah, well, we're all conditioned to be people pleasers, and so much of that revolves around perfectionism. If I'm perfect, they can't deny me. So it's no wonder that that is kind of ingrained in all women at some point.
100%.
Now, I know that you write specifically for mothers. So what do you think mothers need that general relationship advice maybe fails to give them?
Oh my goodness. So this question has come up because non-mothers are reading the book and loving it. And non-mothers, please read it. Please read it. Please read it.
Yeah, it's a great book. I have no children. I thought it was great. So I highly recommend. Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Everyone doesn't have kids. But the reason why I made it for mothers is because of what we just discussed. The mandate to stay for the kids, which is incorrect information. So all in my brain during those 15 years, the idea was you have two boys need their father in the house, stay for the kids. Many people think that the determinant or the major determinant of a child's success, especially a boy's success, is whether the father is in the home. Not true. The main determinant is a mother's emotional well-being. I did not know that. So that's one reason why I really wanted to focus on mothers, because we need to know that. Additionally, many mothers, again, and there was just this case of this man who killed his wife and his 6 kids. And they found her prior post in which she talked about how she loves her kids more than she hates the husband, and she's staying and again, literally, this idea is killing women and killing children. So just like, this is the example I give, I went to the eye doctor, and the eye doctor had this document of a healthy diet for the eyes. And it said green tea and leafy greens and walnuts and, sardines and fatty fish. And guess what? The same diet for the eyes is the same diet for the heart. And it's the same diet for the lungs. It's the same diet for the teeth. And it's
Right.
Similarly, the same emotional environment that allows you as the wife to thrive is the same environment that allows the children to thrive. But this is not being broadcast from the rooftops. It's not. So I wanted to write specifically for women. Additionally, the horror that happened once I realized that I had thought I was doing right by them and I was doing wrong. That is a particular type of horror, knowing that the cycle, it's not just that the cycle repeats, it gets worse unless someone in the bloodline takes responsibility and repents, renounces, and changes course. And so
absolutely.
That is a different kind of feeling, Holly. It's like, oh, I thought I was doing everything right, and I was doing
Mm-hmm.
everything wrong. And I wanted to deal with that aspect of when you're in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in my generation, I can see, okay, what happened to my parents, to a certain extent, what happened to my grandparents. I didn't know them that well, but I'm getting some tidbits of information. Then I'm seeing the
Mm-hmm.
next generation. So when you're there, like the Bible says that these intergenerational curses last for 4 generations. People may have other sources about number of generations, but when you're there at this crucial point, how do you manage this when you are trying to steer the next generation in a different direction?
Yeah. And not only that, I think the bigger question to ask ourselves is maybe this was because it is my duty, my soul's purpose in this lifetime to be the person who breaks the chain. And that's a heavy responsibility. But I tell you what, there's really no greater gift you can give to humanity than being the person to step up and say it ends here.
Completely agreed. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a part of the soul's journey. As I said, had I not experienced this, I would have continued to be a people pleaser. I would
Mm-hmm.
not have understood my own boundaries. I would not have strengthened my intuition and my connection to the divine. I'm working, I'm praying so that I can be like other narcissistic abuse, not survivors, but thrivers. That's the goal.
Right. So, what would you say to a mother who recognizes herself in your story, but's maybe not financially, emotionally, or even physically ready to leave?
Get ready. honestly,
Hey, I like
honestly,
it. Tell
get
me
ready.
more. How
Get
does she
ready.
get ready?
So, one, understand what's at stake here.
Mhm.
Understand what's at stake. There's a book called You Can Thrive After Narcissistic Abuse, something
Mhm.
along those lines, by Melanie Tanya Evans, in which she says that her psychologist said staying in a narcissistic relationship has only 4 potential outcomes. Outcome number one, the person with narcissistic tendency kills the target. Number two, the target, winds up killing him or herself. Number three, the target gets a terminal disease from all of the stress. And number four, the target experiences psychosis. Four
Wow.
potential outcomes. Every week, we are seeing stories of victims, targets being unalived. Literally, there's a story this week. There's stories every single week. Very often, the kids are dying too, like are being killed. Let me not say the kids are dying. The kids and the wife are being killed. Understand what is at stake. Every day, women are dying prematurely of terminal illnesses. Dr. Gabor Mate has rung the alarm. He says women are disproportionately getting autoimmune diseases from not listening to themselves, from not honoring themselves, from being in these type of relationships. So let's recognize what's at stake. This is a life or death situation. So now let's prepare. So how do you prepare? Whew. The narcissistic agenda aims to make you believe that this person is your source. And this is very clear to me. After I left the marital home, I was watching the news and the Ukraine war was revving up. And this person said that a strategy of war is making the target's life so uncomfortable that the target bends to the aggressor's will. This is a war strategy. The goal is to get you in such a depressed, repressed, lonely, isolated, economically disadvantaged. You just keep let the list keep on going of negatives to get to
Mm.
such a bad place that you look at the aggressor as your source and feel as if you have to worship that source and bend to that person's will. That person is not God. That person is a false idol. So I'm imploring you to take a deep breath, pray, get into your body, and get in tune with your own divine source, the real source, not this counterfeit person, the
Right.
real source, and to start asking, and thanking in the same breath. Command and demand and pray and thank in the same voice, in the same space for the resources, the intelligence, the strategy, the angels to take it one step at a time. So in my case, how did that pan out? I realized I want a divorce. I start going to divorce attorneys. Of course, I start praying. Even before I left the marital house, I started going to like looking up domestic violence therapy because Dr. Ramani had said that all targets of narcissistic abuse should avail themselves of domestic violence resources, which wouldn't have occurred to me on my own because I thought of DV as physical violence. So I start on this journey. I go to lawyers. They tell me I can't leave with the kids because that's kidnapping. I can't leave without his permission. He's asking me every day, every other day, because he could feel the shift. It was almost like he could feel the shift. He literally comes into the room. I don't have my wedding ring on, but before he even sees my hand, he goes, uh-oh, you've had enough. He's not even seeing my hand. He's like far away at the door and goes, uh-oh, you've had enough. I'm silent, Holly. I'm just like, la, 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 typing. He goes, uh-oh, you've had enough. You're not wearing your ring. Oh, and I said, let's talk. He starts talking to me. I say, let's go talk in a room. He's like, okay, I'm sorry. He's trying. And so he's like, what are you going to do? I just keep on saying, I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. I go to these lawyers. They say I can't leave, as I mentioned to you. I go to church. The pastor says, stop worrying. God is going to arrange this in God's secret place. I tell my dad, hey, I want to move around the corner to you. My dad doesn't really answer. But one day I go visit my dad and I've been praying. I say, God, solve this situation in your secret place. God, I need to get out of this house. It's toxic. I know I'm leaving this marriage. I'm not ready to file. I don't want a medical emergency. But Lord, I'm trusting you to solve this in your secret place. I go to my dad's house. My ex calls my father and says, Amma is upset about the renovations. The renovations are causing her not to be happy. It's a silent treatment. And it's not the renovations, but he says this, right? It's really the silent treatment. And if it's the renovations, it's the fact that I told him not to do the renovations. I said, please don't do it. I can't take the noise. I can't take the dust. Please stop. And this person just didn't care. Does what they want to do. I'm of no consequence in his decision making. So he says, can Amma and the kids come stay with you for 2 months? During these 2 months, I'm going to let the contractors come in for 12 hours a day and the house will be done. My father said that.
Wow.
Holly, that was my out.
Yep.
I left with him telling me to leave. That is how beautiful, supernaturally, it can work out in your favor. I have plenty of examples of this. Get deep into yourself and recognize the true source, not that counterfeit false idol.
Right.
That's how you take step by step to leave, Holly.
And I think it's beautiful that you were able to see those things because so often little miracles, minor miracles, mini miracles, whatever you want to call them, occur in our day-to-day life, but we're just not able to see them. And I think another mini miracle is that you saw that for what it truly was. You're out. That was your opportunity to leave without the drama and potentially more violence, right? So yeah, that was beautiful.
Yes.
So what has surprised you the most about the response you've gotten to Silenced, to Soaring, and your conversations about the silent treatment in general?
What has surprised me the most is how applicable the book is to other situations, because I was really thinking about this in terms of romantic relationships. And I mean, I vaguely knew it could be related to others, but people have now come to me to talk about silent treatment in offices, silent treatments at the job. Someone told me about the silent treatment that her mother gave her when she was a small child. She said her eighth birthday party, her mom was not talking to her. And she talks about the emptiness she experienced, and through yoga and meditation, she was able to break the cycle. But that has been part of the blessing. People who are coming to me, telling me that it is impacting other areas of their lives outside of these romantic relationships. That's a blessing, because it means that right now we are elevating the standard for all relationships through this conversation.
Right. That's beautiful. Has anybody challenged the idea that the silent treatment can be abuse?
I'm grateful that you asked that. So far, I can't say that people are directly challenging it, but I can say that people are making light of it, even as I describe the seriousness. And I chalk that up to what I was describing in terms of the lion versus the
Mm-hmm.
cat. Even though
Right.
I'm telling them, hey, there's no warning. It is emotional withdrawal. It's emotional connection. It's paired with hostile. And I'm saying all of this, but without them actually feeling the hostile energy, it's almost like I'm describing the lion, but they think
Mm-hmm.
I'm describing a cat. So
Wow.
they haven't like said, oh, that's not abuse in so many words, but it's like, oh yeah, I do that. Ha ha ha. Just making light of it. And I'm like, this is life and death. You're not getting what I'm saying. The
Yeah.
cat versus the lion. You get me?
Yeah. Yeah. So I got to ask, have men responded to the work differently than women? If you've had men responding to the work that you're doing?
So I was very grateful. This was even before I came. This was when I before I came out with the book, or right as I came out with the book. I had an essay in Essence called "How the Angry Black Woman Stereotype Kept Me in an Abusive Marriage for 15 Years," and I shared it on Facebook. So that's when I talked about the war on drugs and all of the sort of racial dynamics. And a friend of mine who I had not spoken to in easily 30 years, we went to a junior high school, like high school prep program
Mm-hmm.
together. He writes me and is like, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. He's a man who's experiencing it with his wife.
Oh,
And he just
wow.
said it was so powerful because for so long he didn't have words for it. And reading the Essence article, he said, this is what I was experiencing. He filed for divorce from his wife. He said that the therapist wasn't really like, again, the therapist was acting as if he's in the wrong and gender
Yeah.
stereotyping him and not understanding the silent treatment as abuse. That's one response from a man basically saying he experienced it. Another response, I did like a TED like talk on it, and this man came to me and said it triggered him because he did it and now he realizes why his wife divorced him.
Oh, interesting.
And his wife had divorced him years and years and years earlier, and he said he just did not have the emotional awareness, and he would do that. He would get
Mhm.
upset and he would go silent and just did not have the emotional awareness. So now he realized, he said it was triggering from him because he knows that on some level he was the person doing it and he lost his marriage as an adult. As a result. Then
Mhm.
someone else came to me who is also of Ghanaian heritage, and he was very interesting too because he kind of showed me the outside perspective. He said that one day he saw me and my ex-husband walking. We were about to go to some New York Times event, and he said that he remembers being mesmerized and saying, this is it, right? These are two Ghanaian Americans. One went to Harvard, one went to Yale. This is like the life. Which is true to such an extent. There's so many couples that we're seeing in the news. Look at
Oh,
Dr.
yeah.
Serena Fairfax and the Lieutenant Governor Fairfax, where these people are looking like they are perfect. This new
Mhm.
couple in which this man unalived his wife and his 6 kids, like they're looking perfect on the outside. You're seeing the pictures of them holding hands on the beach and blah blah. So I realized I was a part of that. Some people were seeing us as that. And he said he just read the article. He said he admitted, he said he understands. He understands the other perspective. He said that he did it. He did it to women. And now he realizes how horrible it is. He said that why are they doing it? He basically said that men are being taught not to show any emotion. And
Mhm.
they're being taught to have this stoic nature at all times. And so when they're disturbed by something, the only expression that they feel they have available to them is the stern silence if they're not going to beat up a woman or verbally scream at a woman. So I said, okay, tell me more. I said, if this is the case, then why is it that when they stop, they expect everything to resume and go back to normal and not have any repair? And he said they would be embarrassed to admit that whatever happened the weeks or months beforehand affected them. And so they
Mm.
prefer to just act like nothing happened. That was like a 2-hour conversation with this man.
Wow.
And he just said he lost his last relationship, and he said he felt like sending the essay to his last relationship because now he realizes why he was sabotaging that relationship.
Wow. Well, let's hope he did.
I told him, I said, it's never too late for repair.
Absolutely. So, why was it important for you for Silenced to Soaring to be something women could work through rather than a book about what happened to you? Because it's sort of a workbook.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I wanted the attention to be off of me and onto the healing process.
Hmm. That
I
makes
do not
sense.
believe in passive healing. I don't believe you're just
Hmm.
going to read, because you're just going to read my story, which don't get me wrong, it's a compelling story. And you're going to be like, oh my goodness, this happened to her. And you can make up excuses. Oh, well, she's Black. Oh, well, she has African parents. Oh, well, she must have been a people pleaser and had childhood problems. You can come up with all these excuses as to why it does not apply to you. But it absolutely applies to you because you're a human being walking on this earth. And all of us are engaging in a human journey, and we should be engaging in a healing journey. And so I
Hmm.
wanted it to be active. I love workbooks. I've done calling in the one before, just because a life coach said I should do it. I've done other journals. I wanted active engagement. Additionally, God bless my ex. May he be blessed all the days of his life. I wanted, again, to make sure that my voice was not a victim complaining voice, but was really moving people towards healing, because that's the stand I'm taking. I'm not taking a stand for, I'm mama, this is what I went through, everyone should know. No, I'm taking a stand for mother's healing. That is what I'm
Right.
about in the world. Mother's healing, because when mothers heal, families heal. And when families heal, nations heal. And when nations heal, the world heals.
Absolutely. And it kind of goes back to the purpose of being the one to break the chain in that cycle for your family. It trickles through generations, but as you just mentioned, it trickles through worlds as well. Yeah.
There's a New York Times article, and this occurred to me on my own, right? It just loves to see validation, even though
Hmm.
I'm, no longer hooked on validation. But there's a New York Times article about the parallels between domestic violence and authoritarian regimes. And it's
Mm.
spot on. And this is what I
Hmm.
felt like. I felt like I was living in some dictator nation when I say, please stop the renovations. The dust had got me an asthma diagnosis. I'm like, please stop, please stop. And this person just, I want what I want, what I do what I want, and the person just doesn't take into consideration me. The kids are getting annoyed with it. I
Hmm.
mean, it was a nightmare, Holly. It started in the attic. Then it went to the basement. So the attic is a construction zone. The basement is a construction zone. Then the bathroom in the major primary bedroom, and then outside. I was going crazy, and I'm telling this person, I can't do this. Stop, and they just do what they want.
Oh,
That it
wow.
felt like being in an authoritarian country where there's a dictator that is only appeasing his selfish desires with no consideration for the people. I mean, it just felt atrocious. And now
Mm.
that I've studied it, it's a similar pattern. Hitler had an abusive father. The
Yeah.
playbook is the home. The playbook is the home. That's why people are shocked. They're like, Amma, you have all these degrees, and yet right now your focus is on support groups for women. Why? And I'm like, because this is the source. This is the source. We get women healing and coming into their intuition and their creative power, and we've healed the world. We
Absolutely.
got to do it. We got to do it.
So a woman gets her book. At what stage do you think she might still be in? Still in the relationship, getting ready to leave, trying to rebuild afterward? Where do you see most women sort of entering into this lane?
I see them entering the lane from multiple different stages. I see someone who finally recognizes that something is wrong getting the book. I
Hmm.
feel as if someone might have been dealing with this all the time. And I pray, God, please get my thought leadership to every single woman who needs it. I thank you in advance. Amen. I see someone Googling the silent treatment or coming across an essay on it and saying,
Hmm.
oh my goodness, this is bringing language to what I've been experiencing and did not know how to explain. That person picks up the book. I see someone who already knows that it's abuse and wants to gain that courage in leaving. I see that person getting the book. I see someone who already left, but still feels as if they haven't fully processed it and are still in the throes of grief surrounding it and confusion surrounding it, getting the book. Multiple stages. And I pray that clinicians will get it so that they will understand it better. Let my story be an example for them so that they are able to support their clients better. So any stage, you've been divorced for 5 years. I meet women who've been divorced for 5, 10 years, but really still haven't moved on yet.
Oh, absolutely. They, in some way, my guess is they still see themselves as culpable, for what happened, which we've already
Absolutely.
discussed is absolutely not the case.
Absolutely not.
Um, what do you hope a woman understands about herself by the final page of this workbook? What is your greatest hope for
Ooh.
women?
I hope that what she understands about herself is that one, it's not her fault. And two, she has the power to create the life that she wants by breaking the cycle and envisioning a better future.
Oh, that hits home. That's beautiful. Now, I know that you encourage women to be their own source of validation, and you've created support groups for women that are recovering from this type of emotional harm. What can women receive from a group that they can't often create for themselves in
Oh,
isolation? What is the dynamic of the group so important? What does that mean?
thank you. We don't heal alone. We do not heal alone. We do not heal alone. We heal in community. Think
Mm,
about the way humans are structured. Oh my goodness, there's a case that, pardon me, demonstrates it. This horrible case, I forget what state it's out of, in which they had a public lewdness charge, and the police found this family with all of these kids who didn't even know how to speak, didn't know how to write,
yes.
who were not
Yeah.
socialized. What a horrible, horrible, horrible thing that has happened to these children. But it shows you that people are stunted when they are not in community. They were locked in a room for years
Hmm.
and they were not in community. So they did not learn language as well as they should have. They didn't learn social, they didn't learn what most of us take for granted in learning because we are in community. So that
Right.
shows you the power of community. Another example of the power of community is that I believe it was a Central American country where there were deaf children who were just went to deaf school. These children
Hmm.
came from hearing families and had never been around deaf people, but they put them in a school, and months later they developed their own sign language. Literally,
Pretty remarkable.
they just developed their own sign language, right?
Hmm.
Sign language, they can communicate. They figured it out. They would not have figured it out had they not been in community. Similarly, all of us have goals. We are currently at the end of July
Hmm.
as we're taping this. Some people set out goals in December, and those goals have not been met. Part of the reason why they have not been met is because they are relying on only the little self. They're not relying on the big great I am, which is God, and they are
Hmm.
not relying on the great I am's people to support them. In this group, every week, you are going to have to restate your goal and say what you did, what little thing you did to move your life in that direction. That is powerful. Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich, says no one gets rich without a mastermind group. This is your
Yeah.
gentle mastermind group. We're not going to scream at you and say, hey, you said you were going to write 30 minutes a day to complete your book. No, this is your gentle mastermind where people are
Hmm.
going to say to you, oh, when now we generally do a circle, but afterwards we speak. So we pass the talking piece, but afterwards when it's free flow, people say, this book helped me get out of it, or this is my strategy. Or maybe without someone even speaking directly to you, they're going to share when it's their turn with the talking piece that when they had a hard time writing, they did A, B, and C that got them out of it.
Hmm.
That is how you make sure it happens. There's an investment. It's not free. And this is why it's great that it's not free, so that you invest in yourself and you take it seriously because the life that you want is not going to happen by accident. It's going to happen through intentionality, it's going to happen through support.
Exactly. And I think it's in being able to have someone reflect back to you your successes, because so often we don't see it unless it's huge, right? We don't always see those little tiny things that we
Yeah.
do every day that, I got out of bed, I took a
Yes.
shower, I did these things. Sometimes
Right.
that's the best you can do. And
Yes.
having somebody say, that's amazing, let's do more of that, is so empowering. But you do need your sisterhood or your outside tribe to remind you of the things that you're doing well, because so often we just can't see them for ourselves.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And so I'm just so grateful. We ran our first like beta group cohort of women for 8 weeks, and it's absolutely fantastic. These women are moving forward in their PhDs after for years they didn't work on it because they were in this narcissistic relationship that was taking away all of their energy. So these women are
Hmm.
writing books. They are on task to complete a manuscript. They're building story houses. I mean, they're looking for higher paying jobs. This is the beauty of being in community and checking in every week to say, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm moving my life forward. Again,
Mm.
you do not create the life of your dreams by sitting down and doing nothing and letting life just happen to you. You must have that intentionality and you must have support in it.
Yeah. So let's kind of get big picture here. What is your ultimate goal for the book, the support group, and really the larger body of work that you're engaged in?
Thank you so much. So there are multiple goals. I mean, one goal is that the silent treatment becomes a known form of abuse.
Hmm.
That is huge. I, 15 years ago, 17 years ago, 18 years ago, was searching like crazy, Holly, and was not finding accurate information.
Mm-hmm.
It was not for lack of trying. It was not for lack of education. I was searching and could not find it. Moreover, I was talking to clinicians, I was talking to family members, and no one said this is abuse. So I want that to change. I want it to be a
Hmm.
known, well understood. I have 2 speaking engagements coming up with clinicians. I cannot wait to share this with them. So that is one huge goal, that this is going to become a known form of abuse. But then, second, through this community, I'm looking forward to seeing the seeds blossom. I'm looking forward to seeing the creative studio of
Hmm.
stories. I look forward to see all of the books. Like one woman in the group was married to a narcissistic man who was a pastor. So she's coming up with specific resources for Christian women who are in churches in which their whole world is like
Hmm.
upside down because people are making excuses for the pastor, thinking he's the voice of God and not just a human being like the rest of us. Right? I just cannot wait to see how all of this blossoms and to be grateful to God for allowing me to be a part of the process, a vessel through which it happens. Because when we have women who are healed and growing and they have money and they're doing well, the whole world changes. As you said, there may be a woman who's just going to take her $200 and be in the group, and she's going to be able to plot her exit, or she may have
Hmm.
already left and felt as if she didn't have enough money to support her family, but she's checking in every single week. And so she's building that job, that wonderful, she's getting that wonderful job, or she's building that business that allows her and her children to thrive. That's the result I want to see.
Amazing. So for the woman listening who maybe still feels confused or diminished or afraid to trust her own experience, what is the one safest first step that you think she can take today?
Who? Pray. Get in touch with the divine. Sit still, pray, get in touch with the divine, and allow yourself to feel the truth in your body.
Mm, I love that. I'm just going to sit with that for a second because that's powerful. So often we try to force control or make something happen. And the best thing we can do is just surrender and allow for the greater good to work through us, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Alma, thank you for being here. This is a conversation every woman needs to hear, whether she feels like she's been in a relationship like this or not. I guarantee you know someone who has. So if this conversation helped you put words to something that you've been experiencing, Alma has created 2 free resources to support you. And you can download her ebook, Silence to Soaring, to really better understand the patterns of emotional harm, including the silent treatment, and begin rebuilding self-trust in yourself. And when you're ready to keep going, you can join the Soaring Sister community. And inside, you're going to find guided lessons that build on the book, practical exercises and community webinars and a optional weekly peer support circles with a small
Okay.
group of women who understand what it's like to work through the past while creating a more hopeful future. You certainly don't have to figure all of this out by yourself. You're going to find all the links to download Silenced to Soaring and join the Soaring Sister community in the show notes. It was such a pleasure having you here. I wish you all the best, and I hope your message really reaches every single woman out there who needs to hear it, and maybe a couple who don't know they need to hear it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. You're doing such an amazing ministry here by ensuring that women heal. They lose the weight of horror, of oppression, of childhood trauma, and they come into their divine purpose. What an amazing mission you have. And I'm grateful to aid you in that mission today.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Until next time, remember, there is nothing left to wait for. Bye for now.